Water for Seeds presents A Parent's Guide to Improve Reading with Phonemic Awareness, Getting Back to the Basics of Phonics, with founder and president Mia Durr. Hello everyone and welcome back to Water for Seeds. I am Mia Durr and I am going to be sharing today some ways to improve reading with phonemic awareness. So with that in mind, I wanted to just show you the agenda for today, the things that we'll be focusing in on. Particularly the 26 alphabet letters, the consonant sounds, the vowel sounds, the 44 phonemes in the English language, the most difficult sounds to pronounce by age, and some examples toward the end. So let's jump in. So I wanted to pose the question, what does phonemic awareness mean? So for those of you who do not know, phonemic awareness is the ability to identify and isolate sounds and their corresponding letters that combine to make words and convey meaning. So if you were to do a Google search on phonemic awareness, you'll see a lot of posters and diagrams where they show a word and break it up by their syllables and the individual sounds of each letter and the sounds that those letters make. And then bringing all those sounds together to enunciate the words, to identify the words. Before we jump into the rest of the video, I wanted to reiterate our mission here at Water for Seeds. Our mission is to address literacy from the root, planting new seeds of hope and inspiration. Our mission is to improve both literacy and the overall quality of life of children in the United States. So with this particular video, we will be focusing on reading literacy, ways to improve our children's reading literacy. And you may find some of the tips helpful for yourself or other family members. So please do share this video if you see fit. And without further ado, let's proceed. Okay, so the first step to improving reading with phonemic awareness is to introduce the alphabet letters, both capital, which are called uppercase, and lowercase letters. So you can start by introducing the alphabet song, which is the A, B, C, D, teaching them that song first because it will help them to memorize the letters. But more importantly, you want to show them letters, so you can use flashcards. You can also draw out the letters on index cards or dry erase boards or chalkboards, but you want to make sure that they can identify all 26 letters, both capital and lowercase. So that will be step one. So before we proceed, I wanted to ask, have you ever heard of the word phoneme? So what's a phoneme? A phoneme is the basic unit of sound in a language. It relates to how we pronounce vowels, consonants, and blended letters. So a phoneme is literally what you hear from each alphabet letter. So things like A is for apple, B is for ball. The sound A, B, B, that is the phoneme. The phoneme is the actual sound that each letter or a combination of letters make. So let's see a phoneme in action. So phonemes, as I previously described, are the sounds that each letter or combination of letters make. So for example, the letter A sounds different in cat, cape, and around. In this example, the letter A has 3 different phonemes because it has 3 different sounds. It has the A, the long A sound, it has the short A sound, and it has a rounded A sound, like the which sounds like a UH sound. But we'll get more into that when we jump into the 44 phonemes ahead. So step 2, jumping into step 2, you want to introduce the consonant letter sounds. This is also a great way to build vocabulary. So for each consonant in isolation, the letters B, C, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, and Z. Now, as you can see, I kind of split it off just to explain that some letters have multiple sounds. And again, we'll get more into that when we jump into the 44 phonemes. But when you build vocabulary and you build understanding of the consonant sounds, you can correlate it to a word. So B is for big, B is for bug. And again, this is a great time to utilize flashcards with images on them. So that helps to correlate the meaning, the sound, the word, the spelling all together. And that helps to build their vocabulary. Next, I want to ask, have you ever heard of the term morpheme? So what's a morpheme? It is the smallest unit of meaning. It can be a whole word, a word part, or a single letter like adding an S to make a word plural. So let's see some morphemes in action. So the words cat, rat, and bat are all morphemes because their meaning is conveyed in the word itself. So your child may know that seeing the word cat, the image in their head will be the feline. A rat will be the rodent. A bat will be either a swinging bat on the baseball field or a bat like the flying mammal that flies in the sky. Another example of morphemes are prefixes. So, for example, the prefix re as an re, like in redo, recycle, and replay, the prefix re means to do something again. So, if they're reading a word with the prefix re attached to a root word, their understanding of the word would help them to know that something is happening again. So in redo, we're redoing something. We're doing something again. In recycling, we're going to cycle something again. In replay, we're going to play something again. So it's helping them to develop and understand the meaning as they're reading. Next, we want to jump into step 3, which is introduce the vowel letter sounds, both short and long sounds. So a great way to introduce those vowel letters is to help your child understand that each vowel has a short sound and a long sound. And some of them have a little more complicated sound, which we'll get into when we jump into the 44 phonemes. But what you want to do is introduce A, E, I, O, and U. So A is for ant and acorn. E is for eat and egg. I is for in and ice. O is for on and open. And U is for up and unicorn. So it helps them to distinguish the sounds of the vowels depending on the arrangement of the letters. Now, it gets a little more complex once you start to understand the spelling, which is the graphemes, which we'll get into next. But you want to just introduce each vowel short and long, and it will help them to understand that the vowels change depending on their arrangement. Next, I want to ask, have you ever heard of a grapheme? So what's a grapheme? A grapheme is the basic unit of a writing system. It relates to how we combine letters to create words. It's the written version of a phoneme. So let's see some graphemes in action. So in this example, I want to talk about the long A sound. So the long A sound in a word can be written using AI as in pale and nail, AY as in pay and day, and EIGH as in eight and wait. So AI, AY, and EIGH are all graphemes, the spelling of the phoneme, the sound A. So graphemes, to help memorize it, think of a graph, graphing something, drawing something, writing something. So the grapheme is the written version of the sound that you're trying to make or trying to understand. So as they read the words and they see these combinations together, it will help them to enunciate the words better because they understand based on the grapheme, the way that it's written, the phoneme, the sound, is A. Now this part can get a little tricky because we have multiple sounds that are spelled multiple different ways. And as we get into the 44 phonemes, I will get more into how those graphemes can change, meaning the spelling, the way that a word is spelled can change. However, you still want to understand graphemes because they will help give clues to what you're reading. So even if you get the enunciation wrong, it will help you understand, oh, hey, that was not the A sound in this particular word. It was the E sound. Again, depending on how it's spelled. But still, you want to introduce the graphemes anyway because it will, again, help them to enunciate and sound out the word. Just a heads up, the following pages are text heavy, but necessary for demonstration purposes. My apologies in advance. So I know it can be annoying sometimes when you see a lot of text on the screen, but I promise this is necessary and it all relates to sounds and phonemes and why they're so important. So let's proceed. Next, let's get into step 4, which is introduce the 44 phonemes in the English language. So as I stated before, you want to break up the sounds of the letters by consonants and vowels. However, I mentioned that some of those sounds can get a little more complicated, whereas though they don't necessarily sound exactly as they appear, depending on their arrangement, like letter blends and things of that nature. So when you look at column number 2, it says the IPA symbol. So now if it's a letter, it will show the letter. However, if it's not a corresponding letter in the alphabet, it'll show that symbol there. IPA stands for the International Phonetic Alphabet, which is an alphabetic system of phonetic notation based primarily on Latin script. So that's why you see those letters under IPA can look a little funny, and they're not a letter that you would generally recognize in the 26 letters of the alphabet. But that symbol is just to indicate the sound. It's just to differentiate the sound. It may not be a normal letter sound that you may hear, but understanding that sounds combine when the letters are combined in a different way or combined together or blended will make different sounds. So on line 21, you'll see the TH makes the th sound, and then the NG makes the ing sound. So it's just showing you the symbol for that. However, it's not necessary to teach your children the IPA symbol because they won't see it in everyday literature. However, it is fun or cool to know, like a cool fact to know. So you can still explain it to them. However, it's just important that they understand the sounds for the letter combinations, which is the graphemes. And also it's broken up by the vowel sounds as well. So if you once you jump into the phonemes 25 through 35, starts to really break down those vowel sounds and the way that they're spelled. But this is a really cool guide. I would highly encourage you to use this guide. And also understand that when you're teaching them these sounds, that it will take a lot of practice and a lot of patience in order for them to understand the sounds that they're hearing and to produce it with their mouth. So just keep practicing. I will link down below the full list of the 44 phonemes for you. Phonemes, graphemes, morphemes, what does all of this mean? So it means that your child can recognize letter sounds, which are the phonemes, the spelling of the sounds, which are the graphemes, and the meaning of the sounds and spelling combined, which is the morphemes. So if they can understand the sound, the spelling, and the meaning, it will help them to increase their reading literacy and their fluency as they're learning new words, and they're starting to make connections to all of these letter combinations and the sounds that they're making so that they can once again learn and grow and to understand their environment and the world around them much better. Next is step 5. Introduce the most difficult sounds with consistent practice. So something I wanted to note is depending on the age of your child, they may be able to produce certain sounds much easier than they can more advanced or complex sounds, as I like to say. So for instance, between ages of 2 and 3, it may be easier for them to produce P, B, M, D, N, H, T, K, G, W, ing, F, and Y sounds. However, it may take them a little bit longer to pronounce ch and sh and z. And as you see the age progression, they will be able to produce more complex sounds as they age. So just practice. You can use the 44 phonemes as a guide to practice early and just stay consistent. So for instance, you can do the sound of the week or the sound of the day. Let's practice this sound today. And it will help them to practice and identify the sounds of different letters and letter combinations. So that's something that I wanted to know. Also, if you notice anything with your child's speech, like any type of speech disorder or speech delay, I highly encourage you to reach out to a speech therapist or any type of speech specialist. So that way you can get any issues or concerns you have addressed early. So that way as they learn and grow, they'll start to be able to enunciate and speak clearer as they get older. But definitely don't fret, don't worry. All you can do is do the best that you can and definitely utilize the resources that are local to you. So that's something that I wanted to note in terms of practicing those more difficult sounds, is that they will change. They will adapt. The children will learn as they age. It just takes a lot of time and practice. So let's practice some phonemes. Let's practice those sounds that we've been discussing. So you can practice the next few slides with your child. Remember that learning new sounds takes time, practice, and patience. I would definitely encourage you to stand face to face as you're teaching your child the sound. It will help them to mimic the lip formation, the location of the tongue to the palate. As they are watching you, it will help them to better develop the sound. So just keep practicing. But let's jump into some of the examples. I'm going to begin with the CH, which is the ch sound. So you can practice by saying chop, chips, chin, and think of a choo-choo train for this sound. So you want to show them the formation of your teeth in your mouth so that they can help, that you can help them to enunciate and produce the sound. The next is going to be the TH, which is the th sound. So it will be the, thanks, and that. Again, showing them face to face so they see the tongue placement of how to pronounce that th sound. Next would be fr, which has lots to do with those two front teeth. So the words that you can practice are frog, friend, and free. And lastly will be the TR, which is the tr sound for tree, truck, train. And be sure to show them your teeth and lip placement. Once again, you're showing them, you're helping them to mimic so that they can produce the sound themselves. Okay, that concludes our video for how to improve reading with phonemic awareness. So I just wanted to leave you with these top 5 techniques as I stated in the beginning of the video. Just want to introduce the alphabet letters to your child, the consonant sounds, the vowel sounds, the 44 phonemes. Now, the 44 phonemes consist of the consonant and vowel sounds all together. I just kind of broke it up for this video. And then lastly, start to introduce those more difficult sounds and just see what your child can pronounce. If there's anything that you notice in terms of their speech or their speech being delayed, definitely make a note of it and reach out to your local speech therapist if you can, and definitely try to help them in terms of their speech early. So that way they'll be set up for success in the long run. And as they age and grow, they'll be able to enunciate and produce sounds much easier, with ease rather. So keep practicing, set aside time each day. So whether it be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, let's just say, let's practice our alphabet letters for these 10 minutes. Let's practice our letter sounds for 5 minutes. Just setting aside the time rather. Also understanding that they are learning and growing. So every child is different. It's just a matter of introducing the information and seeing what connects with them and helping them to make the connections between the sounds and letters and what they're reading on the pages. But that concludes our video. Hope you found something beneficial or helpful or useful. Definitely leave a comment down below if you like to let me know if you tried any of these techniques and how they work for your child. And definitely if you have any questions, please do leave them down below. But otherwise, I will see you all next time on Water for Seeds. Thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, bye.